Yo, what is up, YouTube? So today we're going to take a look at a post on Blind that I thought was pretty interesting. For those of you guys that don't know what Blind is that it's an anonymous workplace app that people download to their phones or look on the website, and they basically talk about anything that's related to the workplace, whether it's related to a job offer or their teams or people that they work with or the company culture. And so it's a very interesting way to get insights about different companies and learn about the way that they operate. Now, everything you read on Blind, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But I think for the most part, a lot of people are there with the right intentions and they want to just get good advice rather than troll all the time. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of their posts. So the title of this thread reads, "Already accepted a Google offer, but Uber came in higher. What would you do?" Let's just go ahead and take a look at this. Long story short, I got the Google offer and accepted it, and I'm now currently waiting for immigration to complete. I think it should be completed in 3 to 4 weeks. But the Uber recruiter who finally came back online told me that I passed the interview and they gave me an offer that is $65K per year more than the Google offer. Wow, that's definitely significant. Primarily, Uber is giving more stock than Google. And so he talks about the Google TC or total comp, 300K, Uber TC, 365K. It also goes, "This is not software engineering, but a sales engineer role. However, that shouldn't matter." It sounds like this guy's probably at least a senior or even a manager level, especially with that total comp package. And then, of course, this last sentence says, "Google has annual refreshers and bonus percentage," of course. And then Uber does not have annual bonus. So this guy's coming to the internets and asking people what he should do. Basically, it comes down to 3 different options. He can keep the Google offer and take the 300K. He can also renege on Google and go with Uber and get that 365K. He also has a third option, which is to try to go back to Google and see if he can renegotiate his comp package. Wow, this is a good problem to have, especially in this economy when a lot of companies are laying folks off. For him to even get a package like this, I would say kudos to you, whoever you are, and nice job. So let's get into this. Sales engineers, they're primarily the teams that are going to be working directly on the products and getting a lot of interaction with the sales teams as well as the customers. They're typically ones that help enable the customer to be able to take whatever product or feature that they're signing up for and be able to immediately onboard and start using it. And so I think he's going to be getting a lot of different opportunities to engage with customers at either company. So that's good. It also really kind of depends on this guy's goals, right? Like, what is he trying to achieve? Is he just trying to get the shiny name on his resume? Is he really trying to grow his comp and buy a house, or has specific financial goals? I think it also depends what he wants long-term in his career. Does he want to continue to stay with one company for a long time, or does he want to, jump around? Just taking this at face value, I think there's a couple questions that need to be asked. The first one that I would consider is, which company has a better future? And, in my personal opinion, Google's definitely going to win in this category. Google's been around for a lot longer. They have a much more proven and diversified business. And Uber, they've actually had a lot of different volatile quarters. In this area, Google's definitely going to be a safer choice. They've been proven. They have a lot more streams of revenue and lines of business. They have a much more diversified organization. Uber obviously is trying to do different things, but the vast majority of their revenue today is probably still coming from ride sharing. Not to mention that Uber has a lot of dependencies on other companies to enable their service to operate. If Apple makes some specific changes on their iOS platform and that impacts Uber's ability to operate, that could severely impact their revenue. Not to mention, Uber has also been in a lot of volatile situations, and I think that was because of an acquisition. But overall, Google's going to have a much stronger business, much more healthy cash flow. When it comes to handling recessions and potential layoffs, I would say both companies are pretty solid, but I think Google's definitely going to be the safer play. So if job security is a factor and that's something that's really important for this guy, then I would say, probably go with Google there. The other thing that he needs to be considering is the learning opportunity or the growth potential. And the question he needs to ask himself is, what product or service is he going to be working on? Is he going to be working on a cash cow or a loss leader? Is it going to be internal facing or external facing? Both are strong, innovative companies, but at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to beat Google. I mean, they're just such a titan in the industry, and they've got so many different groups and teams within the Alphabet organization that he could probably, work for one team for a year and then go somewhere else. And it's very easy to do that. It all depends on what his goals are. Uber is probably going to be a little bit more fast paced in terms of pacing and the opportunity to learn new technologies and to pivot and change because they just have to. They're a much more smaller company and they may need to pivot at certain points in order to stay relevant. So the learning opportunity and growth potential, I think at Uber is probably going to be a little bit higher, but it's pretty negligible. The other thing you need to consider is the culture and team. Which team during the interview process gave you a better impression? Which team has the stronger manager where, if you work for this person, you're not only going to be supported, but you're also going to have a solid relationship with them where you're going to be able to work through issues out and be able to communicate. That is something that's supremely important and not something that you can put a financial dollar figure attached to that. And if that doesn't work out, then, the compensation really doesn't mean much. So definitely consider which team you're going to be a part of. Also, from a cultural standpoint, I would say both companies really focus on the end user. And so there's going to be a lot of emphasis on customer obsession and focusing on the user and their experience. So there's really not going to be that much differentiation there. I also think there's really not going to be that much of a difference when it comes to benefits and perks. Obviously, Google's king in that regard. And, you're not going to be able to beat all of their amenities and services and benefits and perks that comes with being a part of the Google company. But I think Uber definitely treats their employees well. And so that kind of brings us to our last point, which is the total compensation. He talks about Uber providing a higher compensation, and I think a bigger portion of the TC is going to be stock-based. And the thing you guys all know already is that stock can change. And so the question that you need to ask yourself is, which one do you believe has stronger appreciation potential? Which business, which company do you think is going to continue to grow? And when it comes to that regard, I think Uber is definitely relevant. I don't think they're going anywhere. There's really not that many competitors out there aside from Lyft. And I think when it comes to ride sharing, Uber is still king. But Google's got so many different lines of business. They've got search, they've got ads, they've got devices, Android, and all these other products. And, Google also recently split their stock 20-1. And so if you look at their earning potential and future cash flows, I think Google's going to have a higher probability of having a higher stock price a year from now. But that's just my opinion. Who knows? If you work at Uber and know better, drop a comment down below. So anyways, that's the advice that I would give to this guy. At the end of the day, money definitely is important, but there's also a lot of other factors that you need to consider. The question really comes down to, do you feel confident in this company and have a better impression of the team and the manager that you're working with? Because that's going to be your day-to-day. Now, earlier I talked about option 2, where he could renege on Google and go with Uber, and that's definitely an option. 65K is not small. But at the same time, after taxes, it's going to be about 39,000 or so. And you can buy a nice car. You can probably upgrade your living situation. So it's definitely material. But there's a lot of things that you need to consider. Now with option 2, if you renege on Google, there's a chance that they might flag your profile as someone who reneged on an offer. It might impact your ability to go back to the company later on down the road. Option 3, where you go back and ask Google if they can renegotiate. It's worth a shot, but I can't guarantee that's going to work. In fact, I don't think it's actually going to work, because once you sign the dotted line, once you submit the paperwork to say, hey, I am committed to work for this company, even though it's an employee at will, meaning that you can quit anytime and they can quit anytime, it's just not a good signal to them. And, the tech community is a small place. And if you have a reputation as someone who's constantly moving around and constantly reneging, then it's going to impact your ability to get a job down the road. For me personally, I actually reneged on a job offer twice. The first time I was actually supposed to go work at Nike in Oregon, and the week before I started, I got a job offer from Apple and decided to stay in the Bay Area. And that was a tough situation, but I knew long-term that was the best thing for me. And so when I explained it to the Nike manager, he understood. He knew that they weren't going to be able to match my offer. So that was that. The second time was I had an offer to transfer internally within my Google team, and I got an opportunity that I just couldn't turn down. The role was giving me everything that I wanted. The manager was awesome and someone that I wanted to work for. And the comp package was also pretty compelling as well. There's a lot of trade-offs that come with it, but overall, I would say try not to renege if you can help it. It's not something that you want to make a habit of. Anyways, that's my advice for the OP. I think you're in a great situation. This is a great problem to have, and best of luck to you. I think both are strong options, but you have to ask a lot of questions before you make a decision, because working for a company, it's at least a minimum of a year commitment, and you want to make sure that you're spending your time wisely and building for that future. Anyways, guys, hopefully this video was helpful. If you have other opinions or any thoughts, drop a comment down below, like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.